Hey guys, Furum here, and I am stoked to be back for another season of ESL Mobile Open. I will be your co-host in the North American division of the Asphalt 9 finals of the Fall 2021 season. For the next few weeks, I'm going to be showing you the top runs on both iOS and Android in the qualifiers, which are open right now. If you would like to have a chance to be featured in one of these recaps and perhaps even be casted by me in the final rounds, definitely be sure to go to the Daily Events tab in Asphalt 9 and play the qualifier today. Now, let's take a look at this week's winners. Starting with the top one on Android, A9 UF Pickle. This season, the players are going to be using the Bugatti Chiron, which is one of the best and fastest cars in the game, and this time they're going to be playing in New York City. This track has a lot of variety to it, so the Chiron can shine in many different ways. It has some twisty sections where the Chiron's really good handling and drifting come into play, and it has some longer and straighter sections which are coming up right now, where the Chiron's high top speed definitely allows it to pull ahead. Throughout these races, you will see a couple of relatively new techniques that have been discovered within the past year in Asphalt 9 that allow higher end cars such as the Chiron to take turns faster, which are the floaty drifting and the punch drifting. Punch drifting is where you hit nitro and then brake again right in the middle of drifting, which pushes your car a little bit toward the outside of the track, but it also gives you a little bit of a speed boost. And a floaty drift is where you do a 360 in the opposite direction of a turn right before the turn, which allows you to get better speed drifting around that turn. And A9UF finishes his race with a final time of 1 minute, 4 seconds, and 139 milliseconds. Next up, the winner of iOS's first qualifier, the J. You will probably notice that the two runs are extremely similar in what the racers do, and after this race, I am going to be showing a side-by-side slowed down comparison of the two to show you just how close they are and perhaps any minute differences that you might miss when you're just watching them separately. One thing I noticed right away was that the J went higher on this ramp and got 2 barrels instead of just 1. And then he 360s off this ramp and lands perfectly, pointing him over to the right so he can go up over the ramp on the right, then jump down, keeping a lot of momentum, because in Asphalt 9, if you can get a string of ramps and stay in the air a lot throughout them, you really can build up a lot of speed and keep it for longer than you might be able to otherwise. The J again goes up the ramp over to the left, just like a 9UF Pickle did. Let's see if he does anything else really different, or if the one section toward the middle of the race will be the big differentiator between the two. And it looks like the J takes the same route toward the end of the race, floaty drifting around the final turn. He finishes with a real time of 1 minute, 3 seconds, and 679 milliseconds. I'm now going to show both racers' laps side by side with the Pickle on the left and the J on the right. Toward the very beginning, they look very similar, almost like they could be the same race. But then, Pickle uses his nitro and the J doesn't. Again, just very little differences, but a bunch of little tweaks that may only be a couple of frames apiece could add up to like half a second in the end. Pickle is actually ever so slightly ahead at this point. It seems like his early nitro did pay off. They both save up nitro and then shockwave off the right wall of the tunnel to gain some airspeed. Then they both do a 360, leading into a floaty drift to get around this next turn faster. Again, both of them go over to the left to pick up this barrel, and right now they are still practically tied. Now what I'm interested to see, and this might be one of the big differentiators between the races, is how the two different routes they take in the upcoming bridge section actually change their times relative to each other. They both 360 off that ramp, but Pickle stays down below while the J goes up to the right. And we can actually see coming up to this next ramp that the J has gotten a slight bit ahead, so it looks like the route that he took was maybe at least a few frames faster. However, Pickle does have slightly more nitro, allowing him to shockwave after this turn, but that really isn't that big of a deal since they go right into another turn directly afterwards. Here, Pickle keeps slightly higher speed, doing a punch drift in the middle of the turn to maintain that speed I was talking about earlier. But he loses a bit too much nitro in that first shockwave, causing him to have to save up for nitro a bit longer, doesn't even get a shockwave off that ramp there, and although he does do a floaty drift around this turn whereas the J doesn't, that one mistake back there, not being able to get enough nitro to shockwave off that ramp, is what I really think sets the two runs apart the most. In terms of route, yes, the differing routes of the bridge section earlier were certainly more different, but that slight difference in nitro handling was what really caused the most time difference. And thus, as they both do a floaty drift into their final turn, the J manages to beat Pickle by approximately half a second. I believe the iOS timer shown runs a bit too long, so that's why there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. And this wraps up our first weekly recap. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!